There's going to be lots of background noise. Primarily because there are kids playing outside, and this room isn't soundproofed. I don't know. Let's start the episode. Hello everyone, I'm PapaKenn and welcome to episode 84 of Discovering Doctor Who. Today, as you all know, I am going to be talking about the episode The Name of the Doctor, the final episode of the 7th season/series of the new Doctor Who. And, well, if you saw the reaction video, which if you didn't, go check that out here. Or here. I'll put links in both places. And in the description. Anyway, you basically know, you know how I reacted to it, but what are my overall thoughts? Well, let's get started by talking about my favorite parts of the episode, starting with, oh my god, Gallifrey! The opening scene there where we got to see Gallifrey, and I think that's the first time I've actually seen an actual image, like an actual scene depicting Gallifrey. There may have been like a picture or something like that I've seen before, but this is the only time that I remember really seeing just like a CGI creation of Gallifrey, and it looked amazing. It really looked cool. So yeah, just everything about that, everything about Gallifrey was just awesome, especially when we find out when it takes place. Now, my second favorite part of the episode actually has to do with that, and that's the intro. The entire introduction scene where we see, the different Claras interacting either very, very subtly or directly in some cases with the Doctor in his past lives. And just the, I don't know, the sort of mystery going around with that, because we're getting to see her, all of her other selves in, in these times with the Doctor, but we don't know how it came about. So I really like that aspect. The entire introduction sequence was just really cool, lots of fun, and as I mentioned in the reaction video, some of the shots, it was painfully obvious that she was in front of a green screen while these scenes were being done. But all things considered, it looked really good. I do have to say, it looked, they did a good job with what they had. Now, moving on, it's time for my third favorite part of the episode, and that is the conference call. The conference call itself, and all of the scenes leading up to it. Just because when Madame Vastra brings up the topic of a conference call, it was pretty interesting. But then when we find out that's like, well, the scene where her and Jenny, like, go into a trance and then they wake up in, like, a new desktop, which I thought was interesting. I thought they were basically on drugs or something, but, well, I guess technically it is, but it was something that knocked them out. And then bringing in Strax and finding out where he was in Scotland. That was I don't think I wrote it down, but the scene with Strax, like the entire scene where he's in, I think it was Glasgow, however you pronounce it. But in Scotland, it's like that entire scene was just ridiculous and funny. I absolutely loved that aspect. And then, of course, with Clara getting the letter and her going, ooh, and throwing away the candle. But then Madame Vastra thinking ahead and, lacing the letter with whatever it is that knocked her out. And then, of course, the next part, which brings us to my fourth favorite part of the episode, which was the return of River. The return of River Song, who has been painfully absent the second half of season 7 up until now. And it's actually, as we find out, River post, or after she's died, after she's been saved into the library. So at this point, like in this episode, we are seeing River at the farthest point in the future, finally her future and the Doctor's future, so to speak. So yeah, it was just so good to see her, and I love her personality. Alex Kingston does an amazing job as the character of River Song, and I don't know, just the way she interacted with Clara throughout was really fun as well. Especially the fact that apparently trying to talk about it made Madame Vastra blush, I assume, which is when Strax commented that she turned a darker shade of green. So yeah, just the return of River Song was just a great part of this episode as well. Absolutely loved it. Now was it my fifth? Yes, my fifth favorite part of this episode was Dr. Simeon / the Great Intelligence and the Whispermen. And I just kind of bundled them all into one because, well, technically, for what I can tell, they're all just the Great Intelligence. Like, Dr. Simeon isn't really there anymore. Like, his body is dead, to the best of my knowledge. It's basically just an image that the Great Intelligence is able to form out of the Whispermen. As for the Whispermen, it's never really said what they are, but they're basically just clones for the Great Intelligence to, as he demonstrates, like he destroys the body he's currently encompassing, and then he is copied over to the Whispermen. So I guess the Whispermen are just sort of a different version of the Snowmen, like copies based on thoughts or something. I don't know. But yeah, I just thought that was really cool. And as I described, the fact that the Great Intelligence could essentially clone himself or clone himself into a new body at will was a pretty interesting idea, and a very, well, not exactly for lack of a better word, but to use one of my words, a very cool way of developing what, I guess you could say, the Snowmen started as. Because in this case, the Whispermen are basically just like incomplete copies of a human body. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Alright, now moving on, my sixth favorite part of this episode, the many Claras. Now, we get to see her, we get to see what leads up to her becoming the many Claras. It's like her getting, like, as they said in the episode, like ripped into either 1,000 or 1,000,000 pieces. All those different versions of herself. And so we get to see them. However, although for very short moments, we get to see her in these different points in time, the different times in which she interacted with the Doctor, whether she influenced situations directly or not. Apparently in some way saved the Doctor from Simeon after he cast himself into the Doctor's life stream, or whatever I guess you would consider that. But yeah, I just thought it was awesome, and the fact that we do get to see those quick shots of Clara as her original self, as we saw, which was Oswald. I think that's right, yeah, when she was the Dalek, and then also Clara Oswald when she was in the Victorian times, aka the episode The Snowmen. So yeah, it was, I really liked the way they did that. I really liked the way everything worked around itself, and just getting to see that, yes, the Clara we had, the Clara we met, the Clara that we've gotten to know over these past several episodes is the original Clara, and that they took all those fragments of her and they were spread into these different lifetimes, these different aspects of the Doctor's life stream, and it really worked in my opinion. I really liked that. Moving on, is it my seventh now? Yes, my seventh favorite part of the episode was, and I'm just going to keep this very brief, because it's basically self-explanatory. The Doctor, 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 and my favorite part, number 8. John Hurt as it says in the caption there at the end, the Doctor. Or as I know he is, the War Doctor. I said it best in the reaction video. I can't think of a better way to introduce him. To introduce that up until now unknown aspect of the Doctor. And then it's just brought into the light. The Doctor himself, Matt Smith, as the Doctor, is both afraid and seemingly somewhat disgusted by him, because John Hurt as the Doctor did something, and I think I know what it is, but he did something that was not in the name of the Doctor. He's the one that broke the promise of the Doctor. So yeah, I just, absolutely loved it. So yeah, my points number 7 and number 8 were, I guess, both kind of one thing, but I loved it. And to go back to number 7 real quick, just getting to see, however briefly, all the different incarnations of the Doctor, even if it's just someone in a costume that looks like the Doctor. It worked. I absolutely loved it. But, and I don't think I really emoted this much throughout the reaction video, but I did have some annoyances with the episode, especially upon further reflection. In fact, I think there's one that I didn't write down. So I have 2 written down, and if I remember after I'm done with those 2, I'll mention my third. Again, if it comes to mind. But anyway, it's time to get into my annoyances, because as I've said before, no episode is perfect. So, my first annoyance with this episode was, strangely, the intro. Now, I know I said that was one of my favorite parts, and it really is. I really did enjoy it. I feel like the intro would have been more effective had it not gone on so long that we see basically the sequence of Clara saving the Doctor. It's basically almost the same sequence at the very beginning and then near the end of the episode, which I wish that, there had been some voiceover from Clara, her falling through the fire or the time stream, whatever it's supposed to be. And then we see her talking to the first Doctor, and she says, "You're about to make a very big mistake." And then it cuts to credits. That would have been so much better, and it would have been so much more effective when we do finally get to see her interact with all the different Doctors later in the episode. But instead, it's like, since they did basically the entire scene at the very beginning, while still cool, it takes away from the big punch that, we're supposed to get when we find out how Clara comes to be in this whole big situation. So yeah. The intro, while one of my favorite parts, was also could have been so much better, and that annoys the crap out of me. Alright, now moving on, my second annoyance with this episode. And this is another part that is extended to, I would say in many aspects, all of the episodes of Season 7 so far. It could have been and should have been a two-parter. I think they did a good job as far as getting the story out in one episode, but there's so many different things, they could have expanded on that would have worked so much more had it been a two-parter. Like when Clara goes into the Doctor's life/time stream, that could have been like a good chunk of the second episode by itself, and we would have gotten to see more fleshed out versions of these thousands of or millions of versions of her that helped out the Doctor in his past incarnations. Excuse me. And that was gross. But yeah, and even beyond that, we could have gotten to know a bit more about the Whispermen, like, sort of possibly getting fleshed out how they came to be. Now again, I know that they're, like I mentioned earlier, they're probably just a newer version of what the Snowmen were. Which actually makes more sense now because of, like, the Snowmen having the big fangs, and so did the Whispermen. But I don't know, I wish we'd gotten to know a little bit more about the Whispermen overall. So yeah, that's one big part. Again, it's an extension, I guess, of annoyance that spans most of this season. But this episode in particular, I feel like, as good as it was, would have been so much better had it been a two-parter. Again, just my opinion, but there you go. And, okay, I do remember what my third annoyance was that I didn't write down. And it's this. As much as I love Madame Vastra, Ginny, and Strax, I feel like, in this episode in particular, while I feel like they did a good job, I feel like they did, while I feel like the characters were definitely enjoyable, as I always found them, that the whole aspect of people dying and then not really being dead gets a lot of overkill in this episode, especially in regards to Jenny. Now again, the scenes work, the scenes make sense. Had this happened over 2 episodes, maybe it wouldn't have been such an annoyance, but the Whispermen kill her, but not completely kill her, like somehow they just kill her heart at first, and then she gets brought back to life. But then later, when Simeon goes in and destroys the Doctor's timeline, she disappears from existence and hits as dead, only to come back again. And then also Strax is killed, you know, for the second time, as far as we know, and he gets brought back as well. Now, while it did work within the, you know, constraints of the story, it it definitely pounded in the whole, you know, people don't, or like main characters don't really seem to stay dead. Like, it sort of takes away, it's like death in the show Supernatural. Like, no one really ever stays dead, or death in the vast majority of comics, mostly Marvel and DC. It's like, they may be dead now, but they're probably not going to be dead later. And, you know, there's definitely, like, when it comes to side characters, you know, people do seemingly tend to stay dead as far as the Moffat stories go. But I don't know, I feel like there would have been more of an impact maybe had Jenny died. I didn't want her to die, as you could tell in the reaction video, but it would have been more impactful had she not come back to life. Or even if by Clara going back and saving, you know, the Doctor's time stream, Jenny would have been brought back that way, as opposed to just doing the whatever it is with the machine that seems to bring people back to life, either temporarily or permanently. I don't know. But yeah, that was an annoyance. Probably a bit more of a nitpick than anything, but that was definitely an annoyance for me in this episode. Now, taking a break on it from the last few episodes, I don't have any, well, that happened moments. So, yeah, let me know if what you enjoyed about the episode. Let me know what you hated. Or not even what you hated, or not hated, I'm sorry. It's like, let me know your favorite parts of the episode. Let me know your annoyances. And, you know, if you don't have really anything you love about the episode, think of something you do like. Just think of as always, think of something that you did enjoy about the episode, because this episode, in my opinion, was so good. I can't think that anyone could not think of at least one thing that they really did like about the episode. So yeah, bring those out, and as always, mention them in the comics. I'm about to say mention, that's not even a word. But moving on from there, it's time to talk about my track of the episode, and this is one that, yet again, we do get quite a few tracks to choose from. And overall, the soundtrack for this episode was really strong. There were a lot of really good tracks to choose from. 2 of which it actually, it came down to almost a tie between these 2 for me, but one definitely did stand up above the rest. Now, the I guess second place, or honorable mention as I put it, as I'll put it, was To Save the Doctor. The first track from the soundtrack for this episode. It was just really good, and it reminded me so much of a lot of the stuff that I love about the Doctor Who soundtrack in general. But the song that stood out the absolute most to me, the one that I felt like was the absolute strongest overall, was A Secret He Will Take to His Grave. Such a beautiful, sad song, and so well done. And it's one of those songs that, if you've seen the episode, you know exactly the scene that it takes place in. You can see the tears and sadness in the Doctor's eyes. It's that kind of track. So yeah, A Secret He Will Take to His Grave is by far the best track of this episode, which is saying a lot, because this episode was just full of really good tracks overall. Now, if you have any others that you prefer, whether you prefer To Save the Doctor over A Secret He Will Take to His Grave, or any of the others, let me know, because, again, like I said, there's a lot to choose from, and there's a lot of just really good tracks on this episode. Alright, now moving on from there, it's time for my quote of the episode, and just like the tracks, this is an episode that is full of such great dialogue from basically every character. I mean, of course we get River with her awesome quips. We get some great lines from Clara. We get some great lines from the Doctor. Just everybody has their moment to shine, quote-wise. The one that definitely stood out the most to me, though, was when the Doctor is talking about his grave, or it's like, the energy stream that is his grave, because there is no body. Which actually almost made quote of the episode, where he said, "Were you expecting a body? I've had lots of bodies." It's boring, or something along those lines. But no, the quote of the episode for me is this: "Time travel is damage. It's like a tear in the fabric of reality. That is the scar tissue of my journey through the universe, my path through time and space, from Gallifrey to Trenzalore." Just something about that line right there, there's something beautiful about it, something sad, and just amazingly. That quote right there just stands out the most to me. And it may change from time to time too, because just like with the tracks, I struggled trying to pick just one quote for this episode. But yeah, that one in particular stood out the most for me. Definitely let me know if you had any favorite quotes of the episode too, because there were definitely many to choose from. And now, before I get to my overall thoughts, I guess sort of a conclusion, possibly, as for my thoughts on Clara and who and what she is. Now, we know who she is. We know that the Clara we've gotten to know over these last several episodes is the original Clara. Absolutely, for sure. Like, even though it was confirmed before, now there's no shadow of a doubt. But, one thing I will say, and this is sort of an extension of my theory, and it's something that I think makes me appreciate and enjoy the character of Clara all the more, and it's taking the Clara we got to know, the Clara that, while she didn't have any true character development overall, like we didn't really get to see her develop, it just kind of seemed like she developed in between episodes at times. Like she kept getting stronger and stronger, until she reached sort of a point where it seemed like she was like her Victorian self. And this may sound weird, but my theory is that the Clara at the end of The Name of the Doctor is no longer the Clara we've had since the Bells of St. John. It is no longer her overall. Her memories overall may be the same, but this Clara is a Clara that was ripped into a million pieces, led thousands or millions of lives, and then were all brought back together and have maybe not all the memories, perhaps, but a semblance of each life she's led that has just combined into this one person. And yeah, I don't know, maybe that sounds like a bunch of gibberish, but in my opinion, all of the Clara, Oswin, Oswalds, and whatever name combination you want to go with therein have all been brought back into this one person, merged back into one. And I'm interested to see whether or not that theory really holds any ground, or whether or not it might be true, and how that might affect the character. I don't know whether it will or not, but that's my thought. And it just raises my intrigue for the character that much more. And honestly, it makes me enjoy the character that much more, because, she is a bit too out there. She's at times a bit too perfect, I guess you could say. But I don't know. It's like, we've had quite a few just, completely human, nothing special about them at first characters, and they are wonderful characters. They have wonderful arcs. But that's not to say that a character who, like Clara, can't be outstanding in her own right. Even if we don't get to experience, a great character arc with her, even if we don't get to experience this huge amount of character development, I feel like it still works, in my opinion. I feel like she's still a strong character. I don't know, it's hard to explain. I still enjoy her character overall. I don't know whether it'll change over time. People say that their opinions change, especially once it reached the 8th season. I don't know what'll happen for me. But at this point, I really do like Clara. I know some people don't at all, but right now I really do like Clara, and I'm intrigued to see what happens from here, if anything. But alright, as for my overall thoughts on the episode, should be no surprise. I loved it. I really did enjoy this episode. I had some annoyances. I would say that all of them, in a way, boiled down to nitpicks. Overall, it's like, to varying severities. But overall, just the episode I thought was really well done. It has to be the best episode of this season so far. It's like, and I really enjoyed Nightmare in Silver, but this episode blew it away. This was the best. I would venture to say probably the best episode of season 7 in general. Not just the second half, but the best episode of season 7. Yeah, I think that sounds right. I really, really liked it. Oh, and also, I didn't mention this in my favorites, but the scene where the Doctor kisses River, and then he realizes that, no one else can see her, so he doesn't know how how that must have looked. I love that scene. I love that line. I love that scene. It was absolutely brilliant. It was fantastic, you might say. But alright, everyone, thank you very much for joining me for this episode of Discovering Doctor Who. I really enjoyed doing the reaction video the way I did. I will try and do more of those in the future. But for any of you that may not know, and for those of you that do know, there is the live stream reaction video for the Day of the Doctor coming up on Saturday. Now, I'll provide all the information down below. A live event has already been created that should allow you to create a notification for yourself, but just in case. The event will be on Saturday, July 4th at 11 a.m. my time, which is Central Standard Time, which is -5 GMT, so 5 hours before General Median Time, or whatever it stands for. But again, I'll provide all the information down below. So yeah, it'll be at 11 a.m. my time, and I will be doing a reaction video for the Night of the Doctor prequel, the Last Day prequel, and then of course the Day of the Doctor. And I hope you all enjoy that. I hope you get to join in. For anyone that can't make the live stream, it will be put onto my YouTube account, like what gets recorded. The quality of that is questionable at times, however. So what I'm going to be doing is, in addition to recording myself with my webcam and doing the actual live stream, I'm going to be recording the session with this camera so that I can get good quality video, and then I will do another, basically it will look a lot like the reaction video for this episode did. So yeah, it will be in much higher quality. I will do my best to get it out by Sunday at the very latest. Ideally sometime late Saturday, but I will do my best to edit it together and get it out there for anyone that misses the live stream to enjoy. Other than that, everyone, thank you very much for joining me for this episode of Discovering Doctor Who, and well, until Saturday, everyone, I don't know what video is going to be coming out with. I might come out with a few little special things here or there. It's hard to say. But, whatever. Anyway, let's move on and get this episode over with. I will see you all next time, which will be Saturday, at the very latest, for the live stream of the Day of the Doctor. And until then, everyone, I don't know where my screwdriver is. I think it's out in the family room. Anyway, I'll do it with a pen. I'm such a dork. Alonzi!